our first speaker is Nadia Bishara, who's actually been taking that literally as the coordinator for the work in St Albans in terms of the Wilderhood Watch.
Oh, thank you.
Nadia, I know there's been some amazing work in St Albans, so I look forward to hearing about it.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Right, yes, I'm Nadia, and I coordinate Wilderhood Watch, which is an environmental community group in St Albans. So the whole premise of Wilderhood Watch is what we're trying to do is to get people to garden in a really wildlife-friendly way. But it's a little bit more than that. What we also want to do is we want to get people to ask their neighbours to garden in a more wildlife-friendly way as well. So it's very much getting people to make links with neighbours in their street to create these lovely green corridors that animals can then use for forage, for habitat, and to be able to travel from one green space in St Albans to the other. So that's kind of the whole vision, I suppose, of Wilderhood Watch. So I'm just going to show you this. We've got 15 projects at the moment running in Wilderhood Watch, but obviously we didn't get all of them straight away. We started off 5 years ago with about 2. So what's happened over the years is as we've got more people joining us, more streets joining us, we've also had individuals coming with their own interests, and then we've tried to cater for that by creating more projects. So we're very much concerned with what people along the street are actually motivated to see, what their interests are, and then trying to make a way for them to have projects that suit them. So, for example, the Hedgehog Street project, which is one of our very popular ones. If people see a hedgehog on their street, obviously they get very excited, and then we come in and say, okay, that's wonderful, now what could you do to make sure that that hedgehog stays safe along your street? And so we introduce ideas like linking their gardens for hedgehogs with hedgehog holes. So this afternoon I'm just going to talk about 5 of our projects in a little bit more detail, basically give you an idea of how we launched the project, and then also how we keep the motivation going on the street so that the project tends to keep growing. Just before I do that, I just wanted to show you our Wilder Actions map. This was very kindly created by Wilder St Albans, which I'm sure you all know was a collaboration between the Hearts and Middlesex Wildlife Trust and the St Albans Council. Unfortunately, we don't have it anymore. It ran for 2 years, and under the coordination of Heidi Carruthers. It was a great success, absolutely perfect for a group like ours, because it let us have instant information and expertise from, of course, the Hearts and Middlesex officers, and also gave us lots of resources and time so we could basically do what we needed to do far more efficiently. And one of the things they did do was they mapped all our streets. So all those little owls are us. So you can see at the time we had about 30 streets. We now have at least 40 in St Albans, all running various projects. We also now have a street in Harpenden, so we're kind of branching out. 2 streets now in Chiswell Green, and at the moment we're currently collaborating with 5 allotments in St Albans. We've got some RHS funding to actually run Wilderhood Watch projects on their allotments. So they're in the stage at the moment of just deciding which projects they want to run, and also encouraging the people in the streets between the allotments to run some projects as well. So we should hopefully end up with a lovely kind of circular green corridor in the middle of St Albans as well. So very much the first project that we did launch was our Hedgehog Street project. So this was in 2019, the Sustainability Festival, which I'm hoping you all know about. It's something that happens every year in St Albans to showcase groups such as ours. Anyway, we used this to launch our hedgehog project. We had a hedgehog house building day, as you can see there. My husband made a whole lot of flat pack hedgehog houses, and then we got people to come along and build them in our garden. And it was just a really good opportunity to meet our neighbours. We gained 2 more streets that day because there were 2 more streets who wanted to be involved, and also just talk about how we could make our gardens safe for hedgehogs. Of course, very importantly, linking our gardens, but also making sure we didn't use chemicals and we kept our ponds safe, all of that sort of thing. So that was the start of that project. Since then, we've got numerous streets who have hedgehogs who are running this project, and it's all about really connecting the neighbours, spreading the word about how to take care of hedgehogs if they're in your garden in terms of food and water and all the other things you need to do, planting. And also the WhatsApp chats have been brilliant for just people being able to pop a picture of a hedgehog on the chat, so immediately their neighbours know, oh, we've got a hedgehog at the moment. So I think that's really kept the momentum going with this project. And the other thing we've done in connection with it is we've brought out these hedgehog street signs. Again, they've been around for a few years now, and I think they've been really good for spreading the word about what we're doing in St Albans. They've kind of popped up in streets all over St Albans. Just really good indicator for people, letting people know that they have a hedgehog on their street and they need to be careful. And also very good if someone's running a hedgehog project, immediately neighbours, if they don't know about it, they can find out about it just by seeing that a hedgehog street sign is up in their neighbourhood. I've actually got one just out there in the other room, and our latest ones have our website at the bottom of it as well, so that people can easily contact us if they need to. And of course, a lot of them are just outside people's houses, so they can always knock on the door if they want to get more involved and find out a little bit more about it. So, moving on now to the project that I think underpins everything else that we do. That's our Pollinator Highway project. This is vitally important for us, well, because of course we're focusing on invertebrates at the bottom of the food chain. If we don't have invertebrates, then anything else that we try to do isn't going to be nearly as effective. So we really need this. And also, I think it's just the foundation of a lot of what we do in terms of community engagement, because this project very much keeps its momentum from all the plant swaps that we have. So what I'm showing here is our plant guide. So launching this project involved, first of all, producing this. So I have a very good friend, Amanda Yolworth, who you might know, lives in St Albans, fantastic wildlife gardener. She basically came round with a group of us. We went into each other's gardens and we had a really good look at what the pollinators liked. And also the plants that were growing really well, that were drought resistant, preferably native. And then between us and mainly Amanda, we came up with this plant guide. Also we wanted to find plants that were really easy to swap, because we knew immediately that was the thing that was really going to keep this project moving on, were all the plant swaps. And here we are. I've got photos here of our very first plant swap. What we found was that a lot of people were coming along with nothing, so were just starting off and didn't know very much. And then we had people who were coming, it's so generous, really, really good gardeners who were coming along with loads of different plants. So it was really the start of not only sharing the plants, but actually sharing knowledge, because there was a huge gap between people who knew a lot and then people like me who really knew very little at all. And I think that's one thing about Wilderhood Watch over the years. The more people that have joined, of course, the more they've been able to bring to the group as a whole. We're all learning together, and we really do need each other to kind of keep improving what we do. And so I think, yes, it's just been really quite brilliant in that way. There we go. Right, and then the other part of this is just encouraging people to make their lawns a little bit more biodiverse, which of course is so important. So again, we've had a few incentives to do that. One is our meadow walk. Everybody always loves to go into everybody's garden and see what they're doing, so we did that. We took a group of people around, gardeners that had already created meadows. So again, they're getting a little bit of inspiration from that. We're able to talk about how we've done it, because of course people create meadows in all sorts of different ways. And then they had the added incentive of my husband, you can see there with the scarifier. What we said to people was, if you want to have a meadow in your garden, we can come round and we'll scarify for you and rake so that you've got better conditions that you can then use to plant your wildflowers. So I think that's worked out quite well. There we go. Yes, now the other thing, we are very much concentrating mainly on people's gardens and linking those, simply because I think personally you're in control of your garden. No contractor's going to come along and trim down your meadow, you know. So I just think it's such an easy thing for people to do, and also with the projects as well. You know, we're just focusing on one thing at a time, so people can just kind of step out into whatever green space they have, and just even do a couple of simple things for wildlife that is actually going to make a really big difference. When people get really enthusiastic, obviously they want to do something for the public green space in their area as well. So that's how come we started creating our first bus stops. So what you can see there pictured is actually the Lancaster Road bus stop, so just the bus stop at the bottom of my road, which we first of all got on the meadow mowing schedule, so we knew it wasn't going to be mown, although it did in the first stages get mown a couple of times, but since then it's been pretty good, and we scarified and sowed seeds there. Since then we've got about 10 of them. We've kind of gone quite slowly with them, simply because I think it's quite good to have the community engagement first, so that at least people understand what's happening, and suddenly the green verge in their area isn't being mown anymore. And we've found over the years, obviously we've improved, they've become more successful as we've got basically better at planting them. The latest one we did was on Shepherd's Close. That was just a couple of weeks ago, and that's in quite a nice sunny spot, so hopefully that'll do really well. Just a little bit more here. First of all, just a couple of photos about it. I think the park was looking particularly beautiful that year, one of the meadows we planted. Also that little green bus stop there. We were very fortunate that we got that. That's on our Lancaster Road bus stop. It just happened that Clear Channel was looking for somewhere in St Albans to put a green roofed bus stop, and it just happened we were creating our pollinator patch, and so they decided that would be a nice spot to put it, so we're very pleased with that. And also just to mention, you'll see there I've got the Wilder St Albans icon again. So once Wilder St Albans came into being, people were able to nominate verges, which was a really brilliant way of actually creating more meadows and less mowing in St Albans. So since we started our bus stops, there's been lots more places in St Albans that now are on the schedule and aren't just being mowed regularly. Oops. Right, what have I done? I need to go back. Right, so we'll come to that in a minute. First of all, just a couple of challenges that we have associated with our pollinator highway. So it's all about, as well as the plant swaps, just keeping the momentum going, keeping people interested, and also getting more people to join in. So the Sunflower Challenge, which we've been running every year, is a really popular one. Again, I think like the hedgehog signs, we're quite known for it. So we just give away these packets of sunflower seeds. We just leave them in sunflower stations on a variety of Wilderhood Watch streets, and then when people are walking past, they can just take one. They've got a little bit of information about us, and they can just plant these seeds. And actually that's the most important thing. We just really want them to plant them, because we know, of course, as you can see by the picture, and with all those bees on it, the bees love sunflowers. And this is our latest one, which is our Butterfly Challenge. So I really like this one because we're trying very much for people to make the link between a small action that they can do in their garden and then what becomes of it. So in this case, we enlisted the help of, I'm sure you probably all recognise Malcolm Hull from the Butterfly Conservation. He helped us with this. Basically we chose 5 butterflies and 2 moths. One of them is the orange tip butterfly, and we asked people first of all to learn how to recognise them. So we've got a leaflet with their photo on them, and also and we've given them information on that leaflet as to what to plant for the butterfly and for the caterpillar in their garden. So this will be an ongoing challenge over the years, of course, as the plants get established, and we'll be asking people if they've noticed that they've seen more of those particular species since planting those plants in their garden. And as you can see there, we had a really nice launch at the St Albans George Street Canteen. It was a lovely sunny day, and Malcolm spoke a little bit about all of our species of butterfly that we've chosen, and you can also see there we had a few matching activities for the children as well. And now moving on, I just wanted to say a little bit about our Toad Road project. My all-time favourite one, I have to say. I just think it's a complete miracle. You can basically dig a pond and put some water in it, and before you know it, you've just got so much wildlife in your garden. We were just immediately seeing newts and dragonflies, and I think everybody very much felt that way. I think it's really captured the imagination of a lot of people in our group. We actually launched this in 2021. It was the first project we launched with Wilder St Albans, and Heidi Carruthers very kindly offered to do some pond dipping in the Grebe House lovely pond that they have there for all the children on Wilderhood Watch streets. So that was a really lovely start, along with our pond walks. So just like we had meadow walks, we had pond walks. People are so enthusiastic, they're still having them. They had more this year, and I think 4 more ponds are going to be dug because of them. Just exactly the same thing, in that people go to other neighbours' gardens, they look at their ponds, they talk about how they've made them, and generally get enthused by all the wildlife that they see there. Right, there we go. And out of this project as well, I got contacted by Steve Brooks, who wanted to do a little bit of dragonfly research. And our newly dug ponds, he said, would really come in handy for this, because he had a theory that the broad-bodied chaser, you can see the husk of it there, and the large red damselfly were actually, they were emerging as adults much earlier because of climate change. He wanted to test out this theory. So we identified 12 ponds that he thought would be very good for the research, and we just asked that the people who had those ponds watched out over the summer for the emergence of any of these 2 species. Well, it was very interesting, because what we found was they did actually emerge this summer, which meant that rather than the normal 2-year nymph stage, they were actually only nymphs for 1 year before emerging as adults. So Steve has actually now written a paper on this. It's going to be published. So we're just very excited about that, and I think the more, as we grow, I think the more things that we can be involved with like this, the better, really, because it's all about raising awareness as well, isn't it? Now, this project, our glyphosate-free streets project, I really wanted to mention this, because I think just like the pollinator project underpins a lot of what we do, this of course is very much associated with our pollinator highway project. We know, I mean, all of us know that HCC is still spraying at least twice yearly our roads and our pavements with glyphosate. We know there's more and more research coming out that this is really bad for bees, for amphibians, it's bad for us. You know, we honestly think it's unacceptable they're still doing it, but they are. So what we have found, glimmer of hope, that they actually agreed for 5 of our streets in St Albans not to be sprayed, as long as we did the weeding. So we have been weeding along with, and one thing I will say actually with these streets is that it has actually really engaged the people on the streets, because even though weeding is quite hard work, I think people are very game to at least weed outside their house once they realise that if they don't, it's going to be sprayed. So it's a very unpopular policy, basically. So we're hoping that over the years, of course, they'll stop doing this, but in the meantime, we're hoping that we'll be able to broaden this project to include other streets as well. So I think that's where just having the community engagement in our Wilderhood streets really works to our benefit, because we have people who are willing to do this so that our streets aren't sprayed. Of course, we like to keep more of the weeds. They're not weeds at all, are they? Right? There's a lovely foxglove there, and some toad flax. So I think there's also a mindset change, isn't there? You know, what is a weed really, and do we need to be getting rid of everything along our streets? Aha, right. Final project I wanted to talk about, the Wildlife Gardening Champions. So this was the brainchild of Heidi Carruthers, who you can probably recognise there with a strimmer. So what this is, again, it's supporting every single one of our projects. So we trained 15 of our volunteers to go out in pairs into people's gardens, if they wanted, of course, and actually give advice on how they could make their garden more wildlife friendly. So the biggest part of our training was actually creating this wildlife garden at the back of the George Street canteen in St Albans. This is how it was. You can see Heidi there, and then Tricia, who was, you know, a huge, massive part of it as well, clearing it. And then that's how it ended up. So all of us learned so much doing this, all the features that were needed for a wildlife garden. Of course, we learned far more about the plants and you know, all different kinds of techniques, dead hedging, you can see it at the very back there. So I think this has been really good in terms of training us, so again, giving us more knowledge and also enabling people to see what can be achieved. Because of course they can just go to the cafe and the proprietors are quite happy for people to wander around, have a cup of coffee. So I think that's been a really nice showcase for us as well. Ooh, I can see just in time there. So thank you very much for listening. I think that's the end of what I've got to say for now, but if you have any questions, I'm quite happy to answer them. Thank you.
Any questions for Nadia? If not, I will ask one while I'm sure Roy, our dragonfly recorder, is interested in the oh, there he is. Dragonflies results. But do you actually track the numbers? You were saying you're monitoring the dragonflies. What are you doing with those records? Do you know how are they making their way into the next county atlas?
Right, okay. Well, but for the actual survey, I think Steve was. So, because he needed it for his research. So, I don't know, has Steve given you records from us? Because that would be the way...
Steve wouldn't be able to pass on those records without permission from the people whose gardens and whatever he's recording. Really, especially if they're recording them and passing them on to him,
yes,
the records have to come from the person who's recording them. It's a permissions thing with records. It's
right. Okay.
It gets a little bit complicated, but
yes.
I will have a word with you later on
Yeah.
and see if we can.
Yes, yeah.
More
yeah.
There's got to be a way we can square that circle.
Yeah. It just needs the permission to be given, basically.
Yeah.
Excellent. It's really fascinating to see what you can actually do, isn't it?
Yes,
So,
yeah, it is.
Excellent. Any more questions for Nadia?
That's all right.
No, in which case, Nadia, thank you. Really inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
Just show